Welcome back, guys, to 8th part of our video tutorial series. Let's continue from where we left off at last time. So last time we basically populating our admin view page. We were binding admin view page. So let's look into how that page looks like right now. I just added okay, this is how our UI, the admin view page, currently looks like. We have the field job added when the record was added, the job title here, company name, and then the only code that I added is like the proper binding, and then these buttons right here. This button right now they don't do anything. This edit job, delete job, and view job details, we need to do a binding. We need to work on it. Okay, so let's look into this view page, and into here is our and the other thing that I added, let me refresh this guy here, is that I added this view job because now we have view functionalities available. So I added this menu, view job here. We have add job, and we have now view job. As the user comes into this page, they don't have to just add a new job just to view the job. Then we have now view job menu here. That's the extra thing. Now today, let's write this functionality into the delete job. So when we click the delete, basically users will be able to delete this particular row, this particular job from our system. Okay, there is of course, in a real life application, most of the time you don't really do a hard delete of the database record. Basically, maybe soft delete, meaning you might have some sort of columns like it's active, you maybe deactivate it and put a timestamp when it was deactivated, stuff like that. But in this example, we'll basically do a hard delete. Okay, so this is the rule. Like, I added this into the navigation to view job here. So this is the new route that I added. It's called view job here, and just give some CSS class to look as a dashboard. The icon is a part of a glyph icon, part of the bootstrap. So this little icon here, that is that in there. That's the extra code that we didn't have in our last part of the video. And let's go into our let's go into the view job HTML. I'm going to close all the other. Okay, this is all this is what we were writing, this component right here. That's where we left off. So we have all the bindings and everything, and finally we have 3 buttons that I was talking about here. So we have edit buttons here, we have delete buttons, and then we have view job details button here. Hopefully in today's video, we'll be working on this edit portion of the functionality. So very first thing we can do into this button, let's go ahead and wire up the event binding. We're going to apply the click event here, and the click event what are we going to call this, our method? We can say delete job developer job or something like that. And then, of course, to be able to delete that particular row, we need to pass the ID. So how do we obtain the ID? That should be pretty easy, right? Because we have this object called developer job dot developer job ID. If my spelling is okay, so basically the thing to notice right here is that we are not really binding here. We don't have to do interpolation, like we don't have to do something like that, because we just can pass it. It recognizes that it is a function call, so we are passing its parameter. So this is how we can pass the parameter. And then let's go ahead and implement this one into our class. View job component class. That's the job ID, and it's going to be a number, the number parameter. And this function doesn't return anything. Okay, just for now, I just want to say when I click that button, just says hello. Well, I want to say the ID. That would tell me the ID value is passed correctly, and then also the methods got invoked. Let's save this one. Refresh the page. Okay. Okay, right now if I click the button, so as you can see, we do the the ID is passed correctly. Is 1G okay? Excuse me. All right. So it's passing that ID okay. So next thing we can do, let's write some defensive code. If job ID is defined and job ID is greater than 0, means we have some numeric data coming in. Then we can say we define a variable, local scope variable, and just say a window. We're going to call the windows the confirm method just to display the pop-up to the user. It's always a good idea to let the user know, if they click that button, this, we'll be deleting the record before we actually delete it. That's considered good practice. So are you sure you want to delete this record or something like that? Okay. So this confirmation will have a two, option, either yes or no. If they say yes, if the message is yes by the user, so at this point, basically, we need to call our API to. We should be able to call our API to actually delete the records. So as you know, we have our data service here. We're going to say, let's say, remove developer job, and we're going to give ID for this guy. And then remember, all of these services, they return the observable array, so observable response, so we can use the subscribe method. And so it takes two parameters. To callback function like that. And then if the result is successful here, so basically, let me just for now, we're just going to grab similar code like this here. Okay, we call our service here, and then we pass the job ID. to the service, and then we call the subscribe here, and then we don't do this, and we don't do this one either. So if the result is okay, we're going to say just for now, record deleted successfully, something like that. Of course, right now it doesn't know, we don't have this method defined into our service, so that is the next thing we can do. We're just going to write a simple method in our service. As you know from the previous tutorials, our service is very simple one-liner code. Let's go into our service here, data service, and then write new method. Let's call this and it takes a job ID of type number, and very simply what we have to do, we're going to say okay, this return this HTTP. One of the method for delete is, as you guess, is a delete HTTP operation here. So to delete, we need to pass our base URL, and then this is endpoint right here, developer jobs, and we also need to specify here the job ID. This is how our endpoint looks like. Okay, if I go ahead and save this and go into, now this, it doesn't have any error anymore. So like here, we call this remove developer job, pass the job ID and subscribe to it. And if everything is good, we should be able to, it should be able to delete our record from the backend. Let's see. Let's test it. Okay, there is no error. It was able to refresh the page without any problem. Let's say we would like to delete this senior software, this very first job for a company Uno. So if I do delete job, it says, are you sure you want to delete the record? If I say cancel, nothing, I delete, nothing should happen if every page is working fine. But if I say delete and the user says, okay, yes, they would like to delete, at this point, it says, okay, the record deleted successfully. Okay, there is a couple of the user. I'm pretty sure at this point, if I refresh the page, this record might have been deleted, which is okay. But this doesn't look like that user friendly at all, because to see the action that user did, we have to refresh the page. We have to refresh the page. If I do refresh the page, that record should have been gone. As you can see, but I don't know. Let me also put a breakpoint into the server side just to make sure it actually deleted. Here, deleted that. Here's a delete. Let's try to delete another record. Let's try to delete the very last one with a. There is a one with the company DB. There is this database administrator. So let's try to delete this one, DB. I don't want to see that here. Something is not right. It didn't fall into our breakpoint, so it's not really, nothing is being deleted for some reason. Let's take a look why. delete here. Let me just make sure my endpoint is okay. Oops. Not that. And then job ID. I just want to see this. It basically called this method or not, right? So just debugging right now. So loading, okay. So I would like to delete this record here. Okay, it called the service. That's what this 1099 is coming from. But it's not hitting the breakpoint. For some reason, it didn't really call the. Okay, sorry guys. I figured out the reason why that it's working really. It's behaving really weird. Was that in our service, I had instead of this the concatenation of that, I had like base URL and comma as if I'm passing additional parameter. That's why it was passing the wrong parameter. I was meant to do this, the concatenation of the base URL and this little endpoint here. That is why that was the reason it was not calling into the service. Okay. So now it should be calling to the service. So if I refresh this page here, and then let's say I would like to delete this DB record here. I'm going to say delete this sub, and I said okay. So even though at this point, if I refresh this, this is the record we're trying to delete. If I refresh this one here, something doesn't make sense here unless I didn't save all of these. URL. Let me assign that to so that I can actually see my URL that goes into the backend. Let's use here's a URL. And then also want to put breakpoint here into the delete and make sure all of them are saved. And I'm trying to also just to make sure my database still display all those records. Okay. I'm going to say, right, go ahead and delete job. Say okay. Okay. I don't know what happened for some reason it didn't fire. Now it came into here. This is the record deleted successfully, but however that DB is still here. If I do a refresh, that should have been gone. That should be gone. Okay, we have this, that record we have, that record is basically gone. We had before 4 records in our in our database. Now only 3 are left. But however, even though that record is gone, we had to, that's not really user friendly, because just to see that gone, user had to refresh the page. So let's implement that. When we actually delete we will use the changes basically get reflected into UI. That should be pretty easy piece of code here. Into our view job here, into the constructor, we call this little method called bind developer job. Well, I had some method, but I kind of basically refactored this code into a private method called bind developer job. All it does is basically call this method from the service to get all the data, and then basically bind our property private field called developer job. I mean the public property developer jobs. All we have to do here is everything is okay. Instead of displaying this message here, if we want, we can leave this method here, record deleted successfully. However, we also want to call this private method called this.bind developer job again, because we want to face a new record after deletion of the previous one. So if I do this now, okay, we have 3 records. Let's see, like we would like to delete this last record also, with for some reason that is not really needed right now. And if we say okay and hit the breakpoint, we don't really need that breakpoint anymore. Record deleted successfully, which is good, and it's also gone from the UI. That is nice. So that functionality is kind of cool. Now we have basically working delete feature provided to the admin. But however, like this, we want to talk about a couple of things right here. This date format right here is kind of looks not really. We want to display a particular nicely formatted date here instead of displaying this date in this EMT format. To do that, if you have experience working with AngularJS version 1.xx whatever, they used to have a construct called filter. You can write your own custom filter, or they have some built-in filter that you can use to do basic, common format, common layout for different kind of data type, or date for the string. They provide some basic filter. A similar kind of construct exists in this Angular version 2.0 and going forward. So basically they have feature called a pipe. They provide that functionality using this construct called pipe. So there's a bunch of built-in pipes also. So let's just try to use a couple of let's try to get this create a job added date in nice format. So let's go into our binding here for the create is a job created date, and then to use the pipe, whether it's a built-in or a custom pipe, which I will show you how to create later. We'll talk about that. Just use this is the pipe operator, Angular pipe operator, and then we're going to use the built-in pipe called date. But we also, if we need to pass the parameter for that pipe, you can use this. In this case, we want our date to display in this format: month, day, that, and we want to have hour, minutes, in this particular kind of format. So let's see if this works. As you can see right now, it basically displayed our data. It kind of looks better than before, but but ideally, the way I'm thinking, basically, we can have custom pipes we can build a custom pipe. Just instead of displaying date, we can display, I don't know, if you load a job portal and stuff. For example, if you, any job portal, they will say when the job was added, like 2 days ago, or 30 minutes ago, or like a week ago, or whatever. We can basically implement that kind of feature using pipe. I have that already implemented. Let me show you how to basically use it and how to develop custom pipes in Angular. Okay, so what I had done here is I added a folder here called pipes here, and we have this TypeScript file called timescenes. Let's see how this guy, I'm briefly explain how this really works, or how to create a custom pipes. Very first thing, because we're writing pipes, so we need to import from our core library pipe and pipe transform. I don't really need injectable here, and for some reason so I don't need that one. I'm not really using injectable. And then to create a pipe, just like to create a component, we use a component decorator. To create a pipe, we use a pipe decorator, and we provide it a name as a timescenes. This is arbitrary name, based on what you are basically, what kind of feature you're providing. In this case, I'm providing timescenes, and it's basically a class, right? The timescenes here. The most important thing is basically it implements this interface called pipe transform, and it has a method called transform here. That is all it does. So basically think about this class which implement this one, and this pipe transform which has a method called transform. That is what we are tapping into. In our case, this input parameter, because we are dealing with the date here, and that's why it's a created date is of type date. And to provide all those functionality, I have a little private method here, a class called timescenes calculator. This implementation is very basic. It doesn't really have all the bells and whistles and everything, but I would be, as needed, I would be adding to it. And then all I have to do I just create an instance of this guy here. This is, prototype function, prototype JavaScript function, so I have to use a new operator. But I kind of like hate this, creating the new instance right here by myself. But I could have, if I make this class injectable and inject that into constructor, but for some reason it doesn't work. It didn't work in the pipe. That's why I had to hard code it. I have to manually create the instance of that object, which is a little ugly, right? But right now it works. So the implementation is not really related, but it's basically you can see it's pretty simple. Let's say when we call this method, of course we need to pass the date, and the very first thing we need to find out what's the we call this little method called get difference from today in second. So here is a date. I converted given date into input date in millisecond for both of those, for today's date and whatever that input data is. And this would give me the total, the difference in second between those two dates. And that's what this method is doing. Once this guy returns, it's pretty simple after that. We have this seconds total, and then we need to find the interval starting for the year. So how do we have total second, but we need to convert that into to convert that into year. So we divide that by total second in a year, which is just private constant here. This many second in a year, this many second in months, and all those kind of things. Okay, so that is that. Once we have our pipe defined, so how to use it? As you might recall from our previous video tutorial, as I said, as we create our component or our pipes or different kind of construct in Angular, we have to register them. Where we register in this common declaration section here. So very first thing I did here, I basically line number 26, I have to have a reference. We have to tell where that timescenes object class resides, and then we have to register that into the declaration section time since. Now, once that is done, we should be able to use, now go into view job component. Instead of using this built-in date component here, I'm just gonna replace that by time since built-in pipes. Let's go ahead and save this guy, and let's see. Okay, of course, like I said, there's a bug. It says like this record was created 104 minutes ago. Oh, it's partially working, like I said. So let me show one example. Let's go ahead and add a new job here. Just randomly filling in the data. Let's say we are looking for senior level. It's a private company, full-time job. Let's say electronic industry. We are looking for whatever. I'm going to go ahead and add this job. Oh, I have that breakpoint from a long time. Okay, it added the job successfully. Okay, so here is senior software engineer. I have some like funky character here. That's why it's showing like that. As you can see, it was added 4 seconds ago. So that's right, kind of cool. This if I refresh this page, and of course at this point, more seconds have been elapsed. It says 27 seconds. It was added 27 seconds ago, and of course they are changing as well. So things are looking good. So we have our view functionality is working. For example, let's go ahead and delete this job here. Okay, record is deleted. It's gone from there. Okay, that is awesome. But there is the other thing I would like to do. It's always a good idea to show the most recent item, most recent record in the first. When the user is working in their queue, maybe you would like to display this record first, most recently added record first. So that would be pretty easy. We just have to do some ordering in our server-side code. Let's do that, and that should be the basic functionality for the delete. Let's see. This is what is being used to fetch the data. And before I return this one, we can just come in here and write one lambda expression. Let's see. I'm going to order that by a created date. That is all we have to do. I think the order by, it starts instead of order by, I think like order by descending or order by descending order. I think this is the method. I'm not really sure, but you can test it here. Let's go ahead and save this. Build our application. Okay, that method was correct. So basically, as you can see, this 42 minutes ago record that was created 42 minutes ago basically came first. We can verify that by if we add one more job here, DBA Okay, see this record that we just added 3 seconds ago, it just came out right. This is the first one right now. So the one that it just created, it's working pretty good. So now we have our admin portion of the code is, we have now, we can add a job, we can delete the job. The next feature that we'll be writing would be edit job, okay guys? So it's going to be a lot more involved than compared to delete job. So this is what we will be developing in the next video tutorial. Thank you so much. Talk to you guys until next video. Bye.